Hello, 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 and welcome. Today I am going to be talking about how to balance career and family as a mother with none other than the amazing business strategist that is Lauren Whitworth of Laurenwhitworth.ca. Now, just in case you're unfamiliar with me and who I am, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Nina Dafe, and I am the founder and the editor of the Far Above Rubies Collection.com, where I help wonderful ladies just like yourself to know their worth, power, and purpose as women of God. And if that sounds like something that is right up your street, right up your alley, then I strongly suggest subscribing. Now, by the end of this video, you are going to walk away knowing the answer to that age-old question of, can women have it all? In other words, can we thrive both as a mother and as a career or businesswoman? And if so, how? The other thing that Lauren is going to be doing is dispelling the myth of balance and helping us to reframe our minds more in the kind of framework of managing the tensions in our lives. And another great thing that I think you'll love is her 10-minute interval method for being more present with your children if you are a mother, especially if you lead an extremely busy lifestyle. And that's amongst all the other tips and tricks that she also shares along this subject of balancing life as a career woman but also as a mother. So definitely stay tuned for all that great content. But before we dive into it, let me just introduce her. So Lauren is the founder of Rock Your Business, helping entrepreneur mums to maximize profit without sacrificing the relationships they hold most dear, or vice versa. She specializes in personalized business redesign, utilizing creative business structures and profit maximizing strategies. Obsessed with business since childhood, Lauren trained in business administration and has continuously had at least one business on the go ever since. Her own story fuels her passion to support entrepreneur mums to redesign their businesses effectively. After being basically too distracted with business when her kids were young, she redesigned everything to create abundant profit with part-time hours so she could invest in her family. Lauren's business redesign services include practical strategies to avoid overwhelm, including systems and structures that create drastically more income, more time, more alignment with your sweet spot, and also with your likes and dislikes and skills. All of this while creating more breathing space. Lauren is also a popular public speaker, published in Canadian Hairdresser magazine. She volunteers with at-risk women through her church, and she also currently serves on a non-profit board serving youth and their families in her community. So, without any further ado, we are going to jump straight into her interview. Hey, hi Lauren. First of all, thank you for being here with me today. Well, I was going to say this evening and morning for you, right?
Yes.
Brilliant. Now, as you know, I've already introduced you. So just in your own words, could you just let people know who you are and what it is that you do?
Well, my name is Lauren, and I live on the west coast of Canada. I'm actually on Vancouver Island, just near Vancouver.
Nice.
And I have a family, two grown teenagers now, 18 and 17.
Oh, wow.
Our youngest has actually started his final year of high school this week.
Okay.
And I started I think I was born as a business person.
Oh, wow.
As a young girl, I remember going into stores and noticing that things could be done so much better. So I think I had this bug really early.
Wow.
So it wasn't a big surprise after high school that I went and got a degree in business.
Yeah.
And then, of course, just continually had businesses since then.
Wow.
Had in my mind when my kids were born that I wanted to have a way to be able to be home with them and parent the way that felt right for me. So went to hair school actually, and got trained as a hair designer, and felt like that kind of business would be something really flexible, and it has served our family so very well. So I did that for a long time, and then in the last couple of years I've just went back to my roots and started business consulting.
Interesting.
Where I just support women in business to not only make way more profit, but work less, most importantly, and be able to nurture themselves. And, you know, some of the mistakes I made early in my business, where my kids really felt the brunt of my distraction, where I was really busy with work and didn't help them in their journey in a way that is kind of ironic. I planned to be there with them, and yet I was busy and distracted. So when my kids were 2 and 3, made some huge changes in how I ran my business. And seriously, within 24 to 48 hours, kids and things changed. And really the trajectory of our parenting and how we raised them changed. And so that's kind of what I draw on when I work with, you know, business women, or, you know, women who work away from home, how to make those great connections with kids in really 10-minute segments. So I kind of do both, although sort of business is sort of my way into the conversation with people. We end up talking a lot about boundaries and how to connect well with kids so they're more settled and less stressed and less fussy, honestly. And then, you know, things sort of happen. So I'm kind of this holistic talk about it all, but sort of opening the conversation with people who are really wanting to be more effective in their business.
That sounds amazing, because, you know, one of the things that I was saying to you is, you know, I get a lot of emails, especially from, you know, women within my audience who, you know, feeling a bit guilty, you know, I think especially from a Christian perspective, I think there's this idea in terms of traditions that as Christian women, our ultimate goal and ultimate design is kind of to be wives and mothers. And so you do have a lot of women who feel guilty about actually also being very career orientated and, you know, wanting to pursue that area as well, whether that be, you know, they're working 9-to-5s or business, like the women that you speak to. And I know that you, you know, as you said, help women a lot with kind of balancing that guilt and, you know, getting over that. So what does that kind of look like for you? What are some of the tips and tricks that you kind of share?
Well, I think there's really a fundamental belief that happens when we feel guilty versus when we don't. And I know for me, I had the huge privilege. I actually grew up overseas. My parents were missionaries. And so as a family, we were part of what was going on. It wasn't one of those missionary organizations where as kids we were sent away. We were very much part of it and a part of making a difference. So I had the huge privilege of seeing incredibly strong women making a difference. And that really, I think that shaped my thinking for sure. And also, so I noticed when I moved back to Canada here that people's willingness to see a woman in leadership was far different than how I grew up. And so I received a lot of brunt of that because my expectation was that, you know, we're all children of God and we all have gifting, and it doesn't matter what sex we are. So yeah, that was actually a huge adjustment for me moving back here. And what's really interesting to me, I think, when I look at sort of the guilt piece is I actually haven't grown up with much guilt. My temperament isn't sort of a guilty temperament. I'm really sort of goal oriented, but I know that this thing happens for us women when we feel obligated so often to be something, to deliver something. And I know where it's probably come up the most for me is I grew up pleasing everyone.
I think as most women do.
We do. I mean, we are pleasers. And then, of course, in the Christian context, it actually goes to the level of sickness that's beyond belief. So I grew up in that family system. In my family, that was how we were. And then in the Christian organization I was in. And it was modeled beautifully for me. The women I knew were very good pleasers. So, and it fit with my temperament. It fit with how I tried to receive love from my parents. So by the time, thankfully, I was about 22, I'd moved back to Canada right after high school at 18. I was really tired of all the work it took to be so good. And thankfully, I got tired enough that it really got sick and tired, actually, and actually found that I just stopped doing everything that I didn't want to do. And that sounds,
Mm.
it was intense, but it
Yeah.
also helped me. Like there were things I had to want to do. Like I needed
Yeah.
to want to shower and want to, you know, those practical things. So I found ways to trick myself often. It's like, okay, so how can I make myself want to?
Right.
So I would actually talk to myself, okay, I really want to not smell bad. So I'm going to
Yeah.
shower. I really want to. But I kind of really went kind of cold turkey on this, where I felt, and I had read a book about grace, where it was obviously something I'd completely missed, that I really believed in my cells, that if I was good enough, I would be loved more.
Yes.
And I was starting to discover that that was so opposite to what God, the whole point of Jesus being here was not about that. But I didn't know it. My heart didn't know it. So that was my journey of really, for about a year, if I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it, because I realized everything I had done until that point. When my mom asked me to do the laundry, when anybody would ask me something, yes would be so fast that I never even thought about anything
what
else.
you actually want.
So I started to say things more honest. I started to just be more honest. Okay, actually, I don't want to do the laundry, but I'm going to do it anyway. So just actually honoring what I wanted, and just even starting to recognize, because I think when we please everyone else, we don't pay attention to ourselves at all. And it's okay. What I learned was it's okay not to want to. And to let people know I don't want to in a way that's respectful. And the people closest to me, it was a little bit odd. And honestly, I stopped going to church for a good year because I realized I was going to please others. And the church that I was going to at that time was very toxic. People were quite very performance oriented, and it was the only church in the community I lived in at the time. And God met me in ways that he couldn't have had I continued in that performance way. So within about a year, I started to go back, but I wanted to, and it was a different thing. I wasn't going out of obligation, and I had a mission there. I felt like I needed to be there as someone that was open to listen to people, as opposed to like going for myself. That's just what didn't happen. So yeah, things just really shifted for me. I think that journey of alignment with myself and discovering that God actually really wanted to know what I wanted. He created me with my wants. And the things that really fueled me, and not sort of the trivial things sound really silly, but God cares about that stuff too. So I really began to be more honest, I guess, is what the beginning of that journey was for me.
Do you know what?
And I felt so much lighter. Oh my gosh.
I actually identify with so much of what you just said, because I would say my background is actually very, very, very similar. I would say I also had a very people-pleasing background as well, where, just kind of being the emotional supporter for a lot of my family and my friends, and, being the one who kind of carried people. And like you say, actually, it did make me sick. I developed migraines, and I was having stress and anxiety. And actually, when I was examining it wasn't anything to do with my own life or my own thoughts and feelings. It was actually because of everybody else's troubles and worries that I was kind of carrying as well. So I would say the same thing about early 20s, when I went to university and was finally away from home and away from everyone else. So maybe not as accessible, was when I really actually had the chance to breathe and think, okay, what do you want in life? What is the thing that actually drives you? Do you even know what you like versus don't like? And I think you're absolutely right. I think as women, and also very much as Christian women, we can kind of sometimes be molded to be compliant. We can be molded to, you please others, you put others first, because that's what a good Christian does. And I think definitely the learning of boundaries, I think for both of us, has been really, really key. To actually putting boundaries in place is not a bad thing. Even God has boundaries that he wants us to kind of live within, and ways that he wants us to approach him and things. It's not a sin, it's not bad, and you just need to make sure that your cup is full before you can serve others, right?
Yeah, it actually was so fabulous to be away during that time. I read some of the best books and discovered, and actually it was such an internal change. But I look back to, I think for all of us, when we look back at our journey and the people God brings in our life at that right moment, he was in the business of making that change about 6 years earlier.
Mm.
So there's lots of keys in that journey. But I think in that sort of Christian context, one of the things that I love about Jesus is that people came to him and asked for help, like the rich young ruler.
Yeah.
And Jesus told him what he needed to do.
Yes.
And he said no and walked away. And I'm thinking, as a woman, when someone says no to an opportunity that is like, are you kidding me? What in the world are you doing?
Yeah.
We know it's best for someone and they choose no. Happens with our kids a lot.
Yeah.
Jesus didn't chase him. And that picture for me is that he was completely available. The guy could have chosen something different, but he didn't chase him. And the model that I grew up with was learning that I needed to chase him.
Right.
And I kind of discovered that I didn't need to do that. And each person, and that actually I'm not honoring people when I take on their stuff.
Right.
I'm actually parenting them in some ridiculous way. Where when I treat them as a whole complete adult and they can decide for themselves, my life is better, theirs is better. And just practicing that is the thing. But I think when we're ready to do that, there's lots of opportunities to practice, and people are incredibly gracious while we're learning.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Being truthful and not feeling exactly what you said, like we have to perform in a certain way just because this is apparently what a Christian woman looks like. So there's no kind of one size fits all, I guess is what you're saying, right?
So thankful for that. Yeah.
Totally. Definitely. So I know also that apart from helping women to kind of get rid of that guilt, like we're saying, not being that one size fits all, and knowing that it's okay to lead and to do great things, especially if that's something that God seems to be leading them in that direction. How then, because I think there's a lot of talk, especially these days, of can women have it all? Can she have the family and also have the job and be good at both? Is it possible? What would you say to that? And if you do think so, then how? What are some of the strategies, I guess, that she could put in place?
Yeah, I would say my short answer is no. I don't think we can have it all.
Interesting.
But I think we can have what our heart desires the most. Right. Okay. And I think when we get really honest about what it is that we want, like for me, what I want is to make a difference. I think at the bottom line for all of us, we're created to make a difference. So if we're making a difference in a way, and I think some of the things that as women we've been trapped, we can feel trapped in the expectations of being a mom or whatever that is. I don't think we can be true to who we are because we're living in someone else's agenda. But I think when we're true to ourselves, I think we can have it all in the way that is, but not in the way that it's being spoken about. Right. Because I honestly believe that you always you always give up something to say yes to something else. You're saying no to one thing to say yes to another. That's true. So so for me, with my family, when my kids were struggling, even though I'd set up my life on purpose to be with them, I wasn't with them. Right. I was there in person, but my mind was distracted and they knew it. So I was saying yes to business in a way that was harming them. Okay. So although it could look on the outside that I had a good life because I was home with kids, for them it wasn't. And that's what matters, is that their hearts were not feeling seen and cared about in a way that made sense to them. Yeah. Even though on the outside, I was doing everything they needed. They had all their needs met. I was there. I was, having fun with them, all that stuff. But it was the little things that made the difference. So I think as I've grown and made some of those changes to prioritize, we said no to a lot in order to say yes to what was most important in our heart. Okay. We ended up homeschooling, which came out of some of those changes, which was never in my mind, ever. That was just madness. So, each of those steps that we took along the journey of being committed to my family first, that was one of my priorities, God first, family, then business. Right. I believed that. But when it actually came to making the decisions, we did some weird stuff. Okay. We weren't the weirdest of homeschoolers, but that whole idea was weird to me. I mean, those people are not my people. And so that really was a big, I can see lots of decisions we made that didn't follow culture, didn't follow, because I had discovered some things that in our culture that didn't really align with my intuition, but everyone's doing it, like sending your kid to preschool as early as possible.
Right.
And a lot of the things that as a mom, they grate on us because our intuition is actually more on target than our cultures. So we really made different decisions that we paid a price for. One of them that's really practical is that we didn't drive our kids to sports every week, just because of our location. And it's super practical. Our location relative to the city, we're 20 minutes out. So that means every single day to do anything, we're driving.
Right.
We go to church on a Sunday morning, and we're involved in church. So we're there a little earlier and a little later because we want to be. We love it.
Yeah.
We're an outreach church in our community, and we do a lot of fun things. So it's a fun place to be for all of us.
Yeah.
But that means that we would be driving 7 days a week if we did that. So Saturday was our day we chose not to drive. And every sports team required parents to drive crazy number of days, including every Saturday.
Right.
So that was just a practical thing for us that didn't align with our commitment to not being crazy. And so now that our kids are teenagers, I talked to them just this week. I'm like, okay, guys, what kind of price have you paid for that decision? They're like, yeah, we're not that great at sports, but they're like, we're really good at other things, and that's okay.
Yeah.
They did individual things rather than sport things, than team stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a fascinating thing that is super practical that we decided that it helped us have what we wanted more. So I just think really your sort of the long answer I'm giving you is that you choose one thing for another. I choose to go to bed earlier because I want my days to be better. So I miss stuff in the evening.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually that word balance. I don't like it either. It's a total myth.
Oh,
I think it's that what I like to frame it as is a tension to be managed. That we're always every day as adults. And it's actually the thing that cracks me up as my kids have become teenagers. They're like, this adult thing sucks. Yeah, it does.
Welcome.
Yeah. There's too many good decisions. There's too many good things to choose from.
Yeah.
How do you make a decision? And I think the more aligned we get, the more that's true. Because our options become like, oh my gosh, I could do this amazing thing, or I could do this amazing thing. Which one is right? And that's where really paying attention to our heart becomes more and more important. And that is the part of being an adult that's a pain, but it is what keeps us balanced, is actually staying aligned with what we want. So that tension to be managed just is always checking in. Is this the best thing for me right now? And saying no a lot. And I feel like I say no more than I can. I feel like I say more than most people. I don't think it's true, but it's how it feels. And yet I feel like I have to restructure my life about every 3 months and then shed more stuff, even though it feels like I'm really saying no a lot.
Interesting. So in terms of that, basically it sounds like, okay, you need to know yourself. You need to be aligned to your own desires, where you think that God is leading you, but also obviously as a mother to your family and their wants and needs. When you were kind of making the decisions, about what to cut, and was that a discussion that you had with the children? Was everybody involved in that, or was that just kind of what you perceived and went with?
Oh, good question. When the kids were young, it was just my husband and I. As they got older, they were involved a certain degree, because a huge part of, family decisions and say sports, using that same example, is what do we see in them and what do they love? And giving them some limits, like you can choose one thing. What would you like it to be? And there's like 6 things I want to do, Mom. Okay, well, you get to choose one. And really then helping them discover for themselves what they love the most.
Right.
Okay, so now you're down to 2. I really want to do both of these. Okay, so let's talk about. So really, it's actually teaching them those skills of what do you really want, that I never learned, but as an adult we learned, and now we with them. So it was certainly a collaborative thing, and it's really helped them. I can see it really helping, like they're having to choose their classes, they're having to choose which job they want, how they're going to make some money, who they want to serve. They both started businesses that they've served people in our neighborhood doing things.
That's amazing.
But it's because they saw a need and we processed it together. I think the conversation has often it started with the 2 of us.
And as they got older and I guess could reason more and have their say, then you involve them.
Yeah, and a big part of it is I'm the driver. So And we live in a place that they can't catch a bus and go where they want to go. They really rely on me. So it's, there's a lot of coordination in our life.
Right.
And so they've kind of learned that. A lot of the skills, which have really kind of been good conversations.
Yeah, I liked what you said also about, when you know what I guess what your vision is, or where you see yourself aligned, you actually have to then make the decisions that follow that. It's all good saying, okay, God, family, business, but actually if you're going business, God, family, or whatever the case may be, then those are actually the results that you're going to see. And I guess that's what you were seeing a lot.
Yeah, because I think the evidence of what we hold most important is right in front of us. I mean, just checking your bank account over the last 3 months will tell you what's most important to you. Those are sort of good snapshots, but including where you spend your time, huge. And with family, we find that we've invested a great deal in our kids, and every year as they've gotten older, I weep with thankfulness that we have made those consistent decisions, because they still share their secrets with us.
Wow.
They still say things that I would have never dreamed. I wouldn't have even known. I would have never even known I thought that, or would have a question about that, because I was so closed up and so unaware. So those investments throughout have been so glad that we did that. But in the time, every year felt like a lot, but it's just one decision after the other.
That is amazing. And I know earlier you mentioned something that really intrigued me, and that was, especially I think I know that when I was growing up, my mom didn't necessarily own her own business, but she worked a lot, just trying to provide for us and stuff like that. But at the very same time, she was really great at just doing, I think, what you said, which is, just even reading stories to me before bed, or just making sure that she did have that time with us, so we still felt her presence. And I know you mentioned something earlier about, even 10-minute intervals working in, and so could you speak a little bit more about that and how that works?
I love talking about that, because that is what changed my life. I love that you look back and feel that you were seen and cared about by your mom. That made sense to you. Brings tears to my eyes, because that has been my journey. I didn't feel seen by my parents, and it wasn't because they were too busy. It's because they weren't emotionally capable. And now they are, which is so cool. They've done a ton of work. And I think we all have in our family. But it was that what felt normal to me about just being busy. I didn't know how to emotionally connect and be present.
And so you kind of followed that model.
For sure. I didn't know how to be present with myself, so I couldn't be present with my kids. So the 10-minute thing just absolutely changed my life. One of the things that's cool about I'm talking toddlers at the moment, the 10 minutes, and actually it works with older kids too. But I started this when my kids were 18 months and 3 years old. My daughter would be screaming. She was the most amazingly calm, easy to parent kid, happy. And all of a sudden at 3 years old, she started screaming, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And it, how God works in awesome ways. We ended up, my husband has older boys who were teenagers at the time. So we were invited to a parenting talk about how do you parent kids in this culture when they're so difficult to parent. And he was talking to the high school parents. And so we were toddler parents. But we went because of that, which was an absolute gift. And it helped us so much with the teens. But wow, it blew my doors off for the toddlers, because he talked about how our kids need us. And they need us more than we realize. And I was of the mind, we're going to get them in preschool, get them in kindergarten. We're going to just follow the model that everybody does. And everything he said was emotional development in kids is just so much better when they are connected with a healthy adult. Doesn't have to be the parent, but we're the ones on deck. So I absolutely knew that was what was going on with my daughter, was that she didn't feel connected. So I came home and I'm like, okay, I know what's going on. And I started to just sit with her for 10 minutes. We'd read about, and we already did that at night. We already did that at bedtime, but I would do it like 3 or 4 times during the day. She settled down, and it wasn't that I did anything magical. It was just that I listened to her. And what I've learned since, that's a really good tip that you can take away, whatever age your kids are at, this helps. I'll talk about for toddlers first and then a little older, but when they're toddlers, is to sit with them and look at whatever it is they're doing. Ideally, works when they're not on the screen. So screen off, TV off. they're playing with trains, they're playing with dolls, they're playing with whatever, and just sit there and commentate what they're doing. Oh,
Yes.
you've got the red train. Or,
Yeah.
oh, you've chosen the red dress.
Mm-hmm.
That looks amazing. So you're not actually having a conversation with them. You're just observing.
Yeah.
Which is an incredibly tank filling thing for you to do, because they are feeling seen. It's super easy to do.
Yeah.
And pretty soon they're going to be like, okay, Mom, you can go away now. It's seriously about 10 minutes. They're done. Okay, thank you. So you can go.
Yeah.
And if you do that regularly, that you can almost see in your kid's chest this exhale that happens. It's actually a physical thing. And actually, if you're hugging your kids, you can feel it. Their body goes from being stiff to just letting it out. And that's what you're going for, is that, and you can feel it in adults too, actually. But in kids, it's a little faster. When they're a little bit older, it could be going for a walk. For boys, really important to walk, get that right, left thing happening for the two hemispheres to talk. They'll have more words if you're talking. And a lot of girls too. So walking is a brilliant thing, and doing that a couple times a week, but making it special, making a thing that we just do together. Okay. Going for a drive can be really good, because you never want to sit across the table from your boy. Yeah. Girls love that, boys don't. And you definitely want to, foot rubbing, magic before bed, just rub feet. The words just come pouring out. So those things don't take very long, but it's really important that you be fully present in those moments. And of course, there's all those other practical things. Never have your phone at the table. Yeah. Be present at the table. Those kinds of things are the more obvious ones. But this 10-minute thing is absolutely incredible if it's several times a day, where you just stop everything else and just pay attention. Focus on them. And that's what you're saying. When your mom read to you, that's what that felt like. Our hearts are nourished. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. And it's still definitely a memory that I still hold so fondly. Literally just those bedtime stories, or even just little card games we used to play. And, it's funny because just from observing other parents, you see, I think, especially in this day and age, a lot of parents feel like they have to spend money, or you have to get them the latest this or that or the other. And I've got to be honest with you, yes, I do remember a lot of the toys and things that I had when I was younger, but it's actually the special time that I spent with my mum that is the most kind of, I don't know, strong memory from back then. Definitely.
Yeah, it impacts your heart in a totally different way that you are with someone, being with them. Yeah.
Totally. That is absolutely brilliant. Thank you for that. So before we go, because I know that obviously you're a bit pressed for time at the moment as well. Usually at the end of my interviews, what I do is some quick fire questions. So the first one is, do you have a favorite woman of the Bible? And if so, why? How does she kind of tie in with your testimony, or why do you admire her?
That's a hard one for me, because David is my favorite person because he was so transparent, because that's been my journey of needing to be more authentic with how I feel. So he's the one I'm
most drawn to.
But I would say Esther would be the woman, because she said yes to God when he said. I mean, a lot of women did. Yeah. But she walked into great peril. Yeah. And she was brave. Yeah. And I think we come alive when we're brave, and we do scary things, and we just do it anyway. Yeah. So I love that. Yeah, it brings tears to my eyes, so it's got to be the one.
It's so funny also, because recently I was talking to one of my friends about Esther, and I was talking about the fact that we tend to concentrate on her princess story or her Cinderella story and how beautiful she was, but actually she was, like you said, so brave, and I think definitely especially in this day and age, for the women that we want to raise and the women that we want to be ourselves, there definitely needs to be more emphasis on that, right? Her bravery, and like you said, saying yes to God. Definitely.
Yeah, and there's a fierceness there that I love, that I think women have a fierceness that you can see in the playground with little girls. We are designed to be brave, and in a different way than men. We need each other so desperately, but when we back away from that, I think there's a third of our heart that dies, because I think the top three needs, actually Brene Brown says it best. Top need is for belonging, to be known.
Yeah.
And the third one that totally fuels my heart is being brave, because we're most alive when we're brave. So when we're not brave, it's equally devastating as not belonging. Like that fuels me, and it makes me go, okay, I need to do this. I actually need to be brave, not just I want to. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. I would say the same thing. No regrets. That's my thing. Great? Yeah. Okay. So the next thing is, if you had to finish this sentence, what would you say? So, I am a Christian woman who is.
Oh boy, I would say fierce. That's probably my word. I say yes to every opportunity that I can, as much as I can, that God guides me to. I'm a Christian woman who has the tough conversations God puts in front of me.
Yeah.
I speak the truth to as many people as I can in love.
I like that. Yeah. And
I'm committed to being as transparent as I can.
That is brilliant. I think a lot of people say they want the truth. And that, yes, especially in today's society, keep it real and, all of those buzzwords, but not everyone can handle that. Not everyone actually really wants it. I think that's definitely been my life story. You speak the truth and you can sometimes be in danger of losing people. But it's necessary.
In love and kindness and real care, it's amazing.
Definitely. And I am a Christian woman who is not.
I'm not a pushover. I'm not religious in any way. I absolutely hate religion because I grew up with that. I'm defining that as following rules. I am completely done with that, which is what I define religion as, following rules.
Yeah.
So I'm not that person who I'm not that Christian who is following a bunch of rules that someone else put in place or that I perceive God put in place.
Yeah. Definitely. And the very last thing, do you have any kind of other words of encouragement for the ladies who are listening? And also feel free to let them know where they can find you, if you have a free gift or anything like that.
I would say that it's hard to think of one thing, but I would love to just encourage you, whatever stage of parenting you're at, whatever stage of life, business, working, you are loved.
Yeah.
And I think allowing yourself, I think my journey has been part of this as well, it continues to be, is to, that hand on your chest and be kind to yourself.
Sure.
And, that just brings tears to my eyes because that's still a huge part of my journey.
Yeah.
Is allowing ourselves to receive love. And that's part of, to me, that's the foundation of our Christian walk.
Yeah.
Is letting God love us.
Yeah.
And so the more that you can say yes to God's invitation to receive his love, I encourage you to do that, because it's in that place of letting him fill our hearts that then those parts of you that have kind of shriveled a little bit come to life. And he has the most beautiful way of bringing the right thing to life in the right order. So you don't have to do a bunch of work about that. It will happen. It will come to life, and you'll have opportunities that come. For you to become more aligned. And if your job is then just to say yes, and that's an incredible relaxing place to be instead of having to figure it out. And there's amazing people available. One of the things that's happened for me, and I know it's happened for you because God's just like this, is that you have what you need when you need it. And he will bring the people to you, and your job is to say yes and take those brave steps.
It is so true.
So when God brings you that person to have the conversation with, that book to read, that podcast, that music, that mentor, whatever it is, that you say yes.
Yeah.
So, and the best way to reach me is on Facebook, Lauren Whitworth. You can send me a friend request. I have a business page. You can, pop in there and like that and, send me a note that way, Messenger. One of the things that I offer women as a gift from my heart is a complimentary strategy session where, you can just jump on the phone with me for a really personalized strategy session. I'm super practical. So I love connecting with women to kind of get down to the brass tacks of what's going on in your life. How is business going? How is work going? What what do you see are the obstacles? And then you walk away with 2 or 3 strategies that you can apply today, tomorrow, immediately, that will make the difference. And of course, if it seemed like, hey, we wanted to work together more, we could, but that's not the main point. The main point is for you to have, someone to just be able to check in with, who can look from the outside and give you some, these would be really practical next steps for you to help move in whatever direction it is you're wanting to go. So offer that to you. You feel free to reach out. I do have a website, Laurenwhitworth.ca. It's in the process of evolving, but you can find me there as well.
Brilliant. I will put all of those things in the show notes so that people can, reach you and stuff. But I think that this, just this conversation that we've had, I think definitely has given people a bit of a taster as to what you're like, and definitely how practical you are, because I think there were so many nuggets and gems that you shared with us today that many women can just kind of run off with, and are going to be game changers with them. So seriously, thank you so much for talking with me this evening, this morning, and sharing this time with me. Seriously, very much appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Nina. So delightful to talk with you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to stop recording. How amazing was that interview? Now, if you were just as blown away by all of the wisdom and pearls and tips and tricks that Lauren just shared with regards to balancing life both as a mother and a career woman or a businesswoman, then please like and share, especially with someone else that needs to hear this. I would also really love to hear your biggest takeaways. I would love to continue the conversation with you. So please also comment down below so that we can continue to do that. And if you would like more videos like this, where I interview more guest experts, or even just to hear tips and tricks from myself, where I let you know how to grow and know your worth, power and purpose as a woman of God, then I'd really love the opportunity to do that. So subscribe below, and also don't forget to hit the bell so you can be notified as soon as the next video comes out, and I can let you know that will be next week. I upload videos weekly. So until then, you take care, and we will speak again soon. Goodbye, my love.